Jordan Peterson is definitely a controversial figure in the world of psychology, largely due to the fact that he's talking about a lot of countercultural ideas on a big platform, so he gets a lot of hate for this. However, I'm a huge fan of the guy, and I think that Jordan definitely knows what he's talking about and is well-intentioned. So I was listening to him on a podcast with Joe Rogan, and he mentioned a course called Self-Authoring that he designed, and he did a test on college students and got significantly increased performance from having them go through this course. And this course was a journaling course, so he had different journaling prompts for the past, the present, and future that forced the students to evaluate their lives at different aspects of their life and to reevaluate where they want to go from there. So at the time of hearing this, I was 3 years into building my own business, quite confused, a little bit lost, lazy, not sure what to do. So I said, what the hell, let's do it. Of course, it's only like $12, so it's an easy investment. And this video is just going to describe some of the takeaways from writing 29,000 words in 4 months of just the past authoring section. It took a long time, but it was definitely worth it. I want to share that with you guys today. There's a lot of value to free flow activities such as journaling, and this is because there's traumatic events that happen throughout your life. They get locked into your subconscious mind, and patterns of behavior from that one moment continue to persist throughout your existing life. And until addressed and pulled up from the subconscious, these patterns continue to control pretty much everything you do. So the value in free flow is the idea that you unfilter what is coming out. You basically word vomit on a piece of paper. And by doing so, elements of the subconscious mind, your emotions will arise, and you'll be able to externalize those. By putting them on paper, they're no longer your ideas. So you no longer hang on to them, and you're able to see them from a third-party view and to reframe those in your own mind to give meaning to that situation and give a beneficial, a positive meaning to it to help you go forward and be aware of those things as they arise. The past authoring course was all that I've finished so far, so I'm going to talk about the structure there. So for this portion, what we needed to do was to split up our life into 7 periods called epochs, E-P-O-C-H. And these were time periods from 3 to 7 years at a time. And then for each one of these epochs, we wanted to describe 5 to 7 different major pivotal experiences, memories, whatever we could come up with. And just describe in detail all the different sensations, the feelings that we had. It's a free flow written experience from 500 to 2,000 words, and you want to do that 7 times 7, so that's 49 different times that you're writing anywhere from 500 to 2,000 words. And from doing this experience specifically with the 0 to 4 range, which is a complete blur to most people of their lives because most toddlers at that age aren't thinking logically or even verbally, so a lot of your memories are going to be more sensual. They're going to be based off of senses, and I had a lot of difficulty coming up with memories from that time period. But what I really realized from doing free flow writing is that once you come up with one idea and you continue to dig into that, not only do other ideas sprout from that out of nowhere, they just flood your mind, all these different memories when you spend some time just trying to think about it. But also the more you think about a single experience, the more details will start flooding your mind for things that you never knew before. And this was probably one of the most fun aspects of doing this course is the fact that you never knew what was around the corner. All these memories that you haven't thought about for your entire life just start springing into your brain. And it's really cool to see that it's actually working once you get into that free flow. Now that doesn't always happen, but if you can unfilter yourself and really just brainstorm and think about a time period for 10-15 minutes, then you'll come up with a bunch of different sensations, events, random memories, and you just write them down. You don't filter what you write down. And then you go through that list. This is my process, by the way. I would circle the 5 or 7 that I think were the most impactful for my life. And then I would just start free writing on each one of those. And the insights that you'll gain from this are amazing. So let's talk about what the benefits were that I experienced, some general ones. So obviously clarity. So like an insane amount of clarity when it came to what my values were, what was driving me, my strengths, my weaknesses, the things that catch me up when it comes to dating and relationships. All these different patterns became extremely clear, and they weren't necessarily things that I didn't know already, but the clarity came from putting them in context and seeing an entire linear line of those same patterns reoccurring several times in multiple different situations. And when you have that context, it creates a certain emotional leverage, which really makes your mind say, okay, I need to stop doing this. I really need to continue doing this. So some specifics were a loss of simplicity since like childhood. So when I was writing on my childhood, it is quite clear that I had very little limits on what I could do. My creativity was insane. It was flourishing at this point in time. And I'm sure this is similar for pretty much anyone watching this video. When you really think back on when you're a kid and you write about those experiences, you'll notice that there was really no hindrance or responsibility. So without these responsibilities, your mind was completely free to do whatever. Also, I was lucky enough to grow up during a time when internet wasn't a big thing or phones. So I really had no quick dopamine fixes that I could turn to. Instead, I was either bored or I'd go outside and do something. So most of my time as a child was spent outside with friends. And this is something I've lost a lot in adulthood. And I'm sure a lot of people can relate to this, is like play and spending time with your friends is like something that I just don't do enough of. I spend too much time thinking about business, money, responsibility, like working out, all this stuff. Really, the simple things such as just playing outside in nature with friends is like the thing that's going to make you the most happy. And this just revealed that to me a lot more clearer than it had in the past. Realization of natural strengths and inclinations. So a specific example of this was I used to read this comic book series called Captain Underpants, right? You probably know this if you're watching it, if you're of or around my age. And this inspired me to write my own comic book series. And this comic book series I called The Adventures of Mr. Big Head. And this was in 4th grade, and I got completely immersed in writing these comic books. They were like 5 to 7 pages long. They had pictures in them. They had an entire storyline. I made about 5 to 7 of these comics, and I still have them lying around in my house. And this is something that really sparked my brain. It was like, I was actually quite creative, and I did this without any sort of expectation of reward. Nobody was telling me to do this. No one was really even congratulating me about it. My mom was excited that I was doing it, but other than that, I just really enjoyed the process of doing it. Nowadays, when I think about what I want to do, I always think about like the end result. Like, what is this going to get me? And I even tried drawing for the first time recently, since this is like quarantine time. But even then, I'm too caught up in the rewards. Like, what is the purpose? What is the purpose? But when you're not caught up in that purpose, you can create things that are exceptionally good. That was, if you read through them, you'd say, oh, this is very creative. This is interesting. Mr. Big Head, the superhero that flies and headbutts people. I think that's such a funny concept. But yeah, getting back to those roots and just doing things for no purpose. I need to do way more things for no purpose, just for the sake that I love doing them in the first place. And then unknown driving forces. Another thing that has always been on my mind, specifically, was back in like middle school and high school, I was kind of like a high achiever. I've always been a high achiever. And I wondered why that is, because my parents had never really pushed me to, they never really like were on me. They were never on me to like complete homework, to do well. They did help, they did encourage it, but it was never like overbearing at points. So I wondered like what was driving me. And something just clicked during this writing that made me realize that my brother is more outgoing than I am. So he was kind of like loud and chaotic in the family environment, where I'm like more quiet. And it just hit for some reason that the reason why I was achieving was because it was my form of getting attention, basically. It was a form of getting attention from my parents. So at some point in time, maybe I just wasn't getting enough attention. So I've been achieving to deal with that. And I still do that today. I'm still achieving. I'm like, what is driving this? And I think a lot of it is that. Another thing is like perfectionism. You see like the same patterns over and over again. Like sometimes I'm overly perfectionistic and I get anxious if things aren't like perfect and put together. This occurred when I was little too. Like when it snowed, I hated playing in the snow. I'd get anxious because I didn't want to ruin the snow. It was so perfect looking. It had this nice glistening top on it. The same thing with a cold bed. I love cold sheets and cold pillows, and anytime my friends actually sat on them, I would get anxious. I'd be like, no, move, like get off my cold, you're warming it up. So I was even perfectionistic at a young age, but at the same time, what came with that was like an appreciation of beauty and aestheticism. So that's where that came in, because I was an artist. Then the last one would be, repeating patterns. Once again, I've already said this, but repeating patterns that are mainly negative, right? So specifically in relationships. So when I analyzed a lot of the different relationships that I've been in with women, any like negative, any sort of downside has always occurred mostly because of a lack of communication right off the bat when it needs to be said. I let things fester way too long without bringing them up, and that was just a recurring pattern in every single one, and I think it's the root of it. And that's what this has done for me. It's really brought you down to the root of problems. When you think about it without writing it, you think, oh, there's all these different things to think about. But when you write it down, you read through these experiences, it kind of points you at the root of what the problem was, and it simplifies things, and it makes it a lot more clear what you need to be working on in the first place. So yeah, for that, I got this book, Crucial Conversations. This was recommended by Tim Ferriss. And even this book is saying like really the pinnacle of success, whether it's in business or relationship, is really your ability to have hard conversations early on and not letting them to go without being said. And that's always been a problem with myself, is just keeping things in, not saying things, backing down from conflict. And when I do actually go towards conflict, I do it untactfully and things get out of hand. So I need to be able to be better at having crucial conversations, more of them, more often. So that was my experience with this course. It was extremely difficult. I don't believe everyone watching this video is going to go through and actually do it or complete it. I don't say that as a challenge just because I haven't completed it yet. And it took me 4 months just for the first portion of it. But I will tell you that it was extremely beneficial to do so. The last benefit before ending out this video was actually more of a therapeutic release that happened while writing out these experiences. So as mentioned, free flow, random ideas come into your mind and you start writing on them, and certain sensations, certain thoughts kind of start festering in your mind and coming up. So if you're talking about a experience, you're writing on an experience that gave you a lot of like, it was a tough one, you'll start feeling anxiety. And if you're feeling anxiety like years and years later, like more than a decade later, and you're writing about the experience, that means you're holding on to some sort of like emotional response to that situation. But the thing is, when you're externalizing, you're looking from far away, you don't act on that anxiety, so you're retraining your brain to not act on it. So right in that moment, you're actually improving yourself. So this is what Dr. Peterson says. He says, you don't even need to reflect so much on these. Just the mere act of writing this out is going to allow you to release certain traumas that you have. And this was also noticeable for the positive. Some things that I wrote about my family, I just broke out in tears multiple times. There's multiple occasions I would just break out in tears while writing, and then like pick up my phone and text people I love saying like thank you so much, just randomly out of the blue. So it made you like really give gratitude towards the things in your life that made a huge impact, mostly the people in your life that have really shaped your life this far. So I would highly suggest doing it. If not the entire thing, at least like just do it on your own based off of what I just said for past authoring. Break your life into epics, 3 to 7 years. Come up with 5 to 7 different experiences for each epic and just like free flow right on each one. And you're going to come up with some amazing stuff. Your brain is just going to be flooded with all these new ideas, and you're going to be like, I never thought of that. I haven't thought of that forever. A lot of work, but let me know in the comments what you guys think, if you try it out or not. And then like this video and subscribe, guys. It's going to be more like free flow videos just like this on self-improvement topics, stuff around that. Yeah, you know. See you in the next one. Cheers.